Good morning. We are on day 20 and we are going to cast our cares onto the Lord. That's what we're going to do today. So it's kind of like a part two of our worry train. And yesterday we got to have all that time on the gratitude. And then you also you were to write out some of the stuff that's troubling you. And so now today, what you weren't able to, get rid of through gratitude, we can get rid of today and learn how to do that. So my the Bible verse I chose for today is Psalm 55:22. Cast your cares on the Lord, and He will sustain you. He will never let the righteous be shaken. Ah, what a great promise! I love that. And then the journal is the worry train can get you stuck. Seriously. What worries do you need to cast to God? And it is time to lighten the load and stay off the worry train. This is a train we do not have to get on. We can stay off of it, okay? Or you can take really really short rides. Like maybe you step on it, but it doesn't leave the station, and you can be like, oh wait, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to take that thought, cast it to God, and just walk away. And so let's kind of talk about that. So as I was praying through this morning, God kind of gave me this picture. And it was a story that I had heard years and years ago. And it talks about this person. I'm probably going to kind of butcher it a little bit because I'm trying to go back from a really, really long memory. And then plus kind of like how I processing it. So uh, anyway, so when I think of like worries, we tend to take on other people's things. And so it's like you're walking up a hillside and you have, your own stuff and you're just kind of going for a walk. And then you see someone and they're struggling and because they're carrying so much. And you're like, oh, well, I can take that. Let me help you. And so you keep going. And then you come across somebody else and they're struggling. So you're like, oh, by all means, let me take that. And then you put that, like, let's say, like a backpack. So now you're putting, taking on some of their things and putting it in your backpack as you um, are walking up the hill. And what you're doing is very kind. You're helping. Like, it's a wonderful thing to do. It's to help others in need. You see someone struggling. So, sure, let me take that on. But what if what you're taking on is their worries and their concerns that aren't yours to take on? Now there's a scripture in the verse that we are to pray for one another, carry each other's burdens and stuff like that. But this is different because this is, and I think when I think children is a good way to think about this. We worry about our kids. We worry, are they going to be safe? Are they going to be okay? Are they going to make good choices? And what does that worry do for you? Is there any benefit to you worrying about such things? Does it change the outcome? Does it change whether something happened or not? And what it can do is it can make, like, let's say something did happen. Let's say your kid, you sent them off to school and you were worried um, that they would lose their homework. They wouldn't get the papers turned in time. And they did. They spilled out of their backpack as they were pulling out their lunch and everything. The paper fell out. They didn't notice it, so they just kept on going. And so when it came time to go to class and they're supposed to turn in their paper, they didn't have it. And so you were worried, that your kid wouldn't turn in his paper. And so now when your kid comes home and says, yeah, I didn't turn in my assignment, I couldn't find it. Now you're like, I knew it. Like, oh my God, I knew you couldn't do this. And so you justify your worrying, which now exasperates the situation because your kid didn't not he didn't do it on purpose. It was an accident. But that's not what you're thinking. You're thinking like, yeah, my kid's not responsible. He can't pull, he's not gonna be able to do this. He's not gonna be able to hold down a job. He can't, he's got to have me. I got to do everything for him. I'm his mom. Let me just do it. Like, I should have just gone to school with him. You just go through all of these scenarios, and you justify why you worried, which is not what we're to do. God says over and over, do not worry. It does nothing. It adds nothing to your life. It's like worry's like a rocking chair, gives you something to do all day, but it doesn't take you anywhere. So why do we sit in that space? Why do we allow these crazy scenarios to go in our head? And then when you worry, what is the actual like storyline in your head? I just created one with the homework. Um, and so think about that. Take a moment and just write out one of your write out the whole scenario that goes on in your head, and then read it back and see if that makes any sense. And then how would the person you're worried about feel if they saw all the things you wrote down? Or maybe you just gladly verbal, you know, what you think. And then if you're doing that, okay, like in the scenario I just talked about with your child, you know, accidentally losing their paper. I mean, how many times have you pulled stuff out of your bag and something's fallen out and you don't pick it, you don't realize it, and you just go on about your business? Okay, I'm pretty sure most people have done that at some point in their lives, right? Um, so think about that. If you then tell your kid, I, I knew you wouldn't be able to do it. What if you just told your child? Is that empowering to them? Are you encouraging them? You're just throwing doubt. Now they're in fear. Now they're insecure, like, wow, man, I can't do this. I don't have the ability to be responsible. I remember when my boys were little, and they weren't, I wanted them to clean their room, or something. I think it was cleaning the room. And I looked at the older one. I mean, he wasn't even in school yet. I mean, he was little, and I was like, you really need to take responsibility for your actions. And you could just tell he was sad, because mom was mad, and I'm telling him all these things. And then finally he looks at me and goes, Mom, what does responsible mean? I was like, oh, right. Like, here I am, thinking I'm giving my kid all this wisdom and advice using words he doesn't even know what they mean. He didn't know what responsible meant. So if I say be responsible for your toys or for your things, he's like, okay. And I think so many times that's what we do. And he doesn't know. I mean, fortunately, he felt safe enough and brave enough to be like, I don't know what that means, and asked. And then I was like, oh my gosh, like, yeah, okay, take a step back. But so many times, I mean, I remember as a kid when people would say things to me and I didn't know what they meant, but I was too embarrassed to admit I didn't know what they meant. And so I would just go, okay, and then you walk away more confused than you were before. And so we have to make sure that we're not doing that. We're not projecting insecurities and worries on other people because we can't stop worrying. We project our worries on others. Like there was a time when every time I flew, my mom would be like, yeah, she'd be worrying about me getting on a plane. And I'm like, Ma, like, I'm coming to visit you. Like, I'm getting on a plane. It's okay. But she would worry about me getting on a plane. And then I had to fight then her worry, because it's like, should I be worrying? I'm not worried. I wasn't worried, but maybe I should worry. Maybe there's a reason. Um, what is the likelihood? What is all the things. And sometimes, um, like she'd been in a plane and it had some serious turbulence when it landed, and so there was like that serious up and down, hit your head on the, so she had experienced that. I hadn't ever experienced that, so for her, I had that little bit of worry, like, oh God, I hope she's gonna be okay, and I'm over here like, I'm just getting on a plane. And people can do that, like with driving, people who've been in accidents, really bad accidents, you know, you don't want that to happen again. And so there's a stressor within you because you go back to that trauma. And so then you worry every time your kid gets in the car, especially if the weather's bad, and you're like, I'm worried about you. Call me when you get there, and you're up just stressing the whole time. Or like your kid in high school, you give them a curfew. Be home by midnight. You have to be home by midnight. That's your curfew. And you normally go to bed at 10. But every time they're out and they're not in their bed, what do? You stay up. You stay awake because you're worried and you're like, I can't fall asleep until you are home. Think about that. You have now put on your kid, now they're responsible for you being able to fall asleep. You just added a stressor to them because of your inability to cast your care onto the Lord. Because you can't just go, okay, God, they're yours. You're going to take care of them. And I'm going to go to bed. I would tell my son, wake me up when you get home. That's what I would say. When you get home, come wake me up. So I went to bed. Did I always fall asleep? No. But I had to get to the point of like, he's going to make his choices. God's taking care of him. I can't change it, whether I sit up and worry about it or not. Either way, the same thing's going to happen out there, regardless of what I'm doing in my home. So, cast your cares. Now, this isn't easy, and especially as a mom, it can get very difficult. But God says, I'll sustain you. So cast your cares to the Lord. He will sustain you. He will never let the righteous be shaken. That's his promise. So take hold of that promise. Now bad things can and will happen, but you sitting and worrying about it and creating these scenarios in your head does nothing. It's not helpful. It just adds stress to you, and then you project on other people, which then adds stress to them. So let's work on our worries. What are your worries? Where do you get stuck? Where do you just sit and in your rocking chair of worry and like you can't sleep, you can't function, you can't do the task in front of you because all of this is going on in your head? So write them down, cast them, give them over to God. And you may have to do it multiple times because we are retraining our brains. You have to retrain it. This isn't like a one and done. I mean, God can do that. He can do the one and done. So I'm definitely not, saying God can't do that. However, for most of us, we have to just do it again, cast it again. Oh yeah, I just jumped on that worry train again. got to get off. So figure it out, go through your worries and cast them to the Lord, and keep casting them, keep throwing them rocks, okay? Give them right back. And yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. Enjoy your day.